Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little's Law YouTube channel. Today, in this video, we're going to discuss about one of the basic terms of UI performance testing. Again, UI performance testing is one of the one type of performance testing, which UI stands for user interface, and this actually describes the core concept. I mean, like we're going to discuss about the core concept of performance testing in a layman term to clear the basics, and we'll make a strong platform of performance testing skills using different UI tools as well. Like I told you, UI testing, UI performance testing is another a big uh, what to say a big uh, career opportunity because most of the applications are now required to do the UI performance testing. So in this video, we'll see about the very first basic term of the UI performance testing tutorial, that is the page load time. So we'll see what is the page load time, and we'll see how does it work and what are all the other factors that influence the page load time. And coming back to the very first part which we are going to see in terms of the page load time in performance testing. So we always know that how we always talk about performance time, sorry, the response time in performance testing. Well, response time, as we all know, which is basically the time it takes from the moment that we send a request, say for example, like clicking a link until basically sending a request, which is like clicking a link, and until we get a response back from the applications, letting us know, I mean, letting us know that it is done the or it has completed the processing. So basically what we do is like we send a request and we wait until the application sends back the response, sends the response back. So that's what we all know about the response times. And but these days there is another important term that we need to know, which is the page load time. That's a newer term. Yes, I agree. But we need to know understand. We need to understand what is a page load time. So page load time is the total time it takes for a web page to fully appear on your screen. So in simple terms, it's the time taken for all the elements on a page like text, the images, the buttons to load and be ready for you to interact it, or to make sure that the complete application is ready for you to usable in a usable manner. So that is what the page load time. So this is not about the response time, because like I told you, response time is the time or the interval it takes from sending the request and receiving processing it and then receiving it back from the server. But the page load time, let me again reiterate, so that's a it is a total time it takes for a web page to fully appear on your screen. And in simple terms, it's the time taken for all the elements, every single element, no matter what. It can be a text, it can be an image, button, a text box, a label, everything, anything that you see on the page to load, and it has to be ready for you to interact with. So that is the page load time. So now we'll move on to the next part of this video. So, like we have discussed, the response times and the page load times are completely different. So now we'll see about the page load time and what are the three factors that the page load time depends on. So the very first thing is the server processing time. So what is the server processing time and why does it impact the page loading time? So the server response time is all about how fast the server handles your request and sends the response back to you. So think of it like ordering food at a restaurant. So the quicker the kitchen prepares your order and hands it over, the better. So that's how the server processing time is dependent on. And the second part is the network latency. So this actually refers to how fast the information travels back and forth between your device and the server. And imagine it's like sending a letter. So if the postal service is slow, yes, automatically it will take a longer to get a reply, but if it is fast, you will get your response quickly. So that is the network latency is all about. So overall, in terms of the server processing, so it measures how quickly the servers receive the client request, process those requests, and sends the response back to the client. So the speed of the server side computation and the response generation is dependent on it. So that's why I told you the example of ordering a food at a restaurant. And then the second part, which is the network latency, where it represents the communication channel efficiency, which includes the data transfer from the client to server and from the server back to client, and the speed of network infrastructure. that's the reason I told you this example of the postal service. So how, if they were slow, yes, automatically the reply will be slower, and if it is like quicker, then automatically the response will be very fast. And then the third part, which is the component loading time. So once the data reaches your device, which is your browser, it has to put everything together, which is it has to load the image, it has to run the script, and it has to display the page as well. So all these things has to be done by your browser, right? So this is like unpacking and setting up the furniture after it is delivered. Say for example, if you have moved to a new home and if you are ordering some furniture and they have delivered it to you, so all you have to do is you have to unpack it. And if it is from IKEA, so you have to again screw everything on your own. You have to like fit everything on your own. So it's something like that. So once it is delivered, so the faster it happens, the sooner you can use it, right? So that's how the component loading time. So all it happens is like it loads the images, it runs the scripts, and it displays the page. Like you can see here, it retrieves the components from the cache or the server, and it renders the page element, and it uses, I mean, it prepares the page for the user interaction. So this is what happens. So page load time is basically a combination of how fast the server works, how quickly the data moves through the network, and how efficiently your browser loads everything. Now we'll move on to the next topic. So now we'll see what happens or how it works. So the first thing is you take an action. That is, you enter a website URL in the browser and you click on a link or you submit a form. So this is like you're asking for something online, like you're placing an order. So the user enters an URL, he submits a form, and he clicks a hyperlink. So the second step is your browser sends a request. So once you hit enter or you click, your browser sends a request over the internet to the website server. It's like making a phone call to place an order. And then the third part, which is the server gets to work. So the server, which actually stores the website, it can be app server, it can be web server. So that receives your request, it processes it and gathers the necessary information. And imagine the restaurant kitchen preparing a food order. And then the fourth part, which is the server response. So once the server has everything ready, it sends the information back to your browser, just like the restaurant delivering your food to your table. And the fifth part, which is your browser starts receiving the data. So the browser begins to get bits and pieces of the page from the server and starts to preparing to display it, just like the unpacking part, right? So think of it like unpacking a delivery. Yep. And the next part is just the checking for stored items. So your browser looks to see if it has any parts of the page already stored, so it does not have to download them again. So this is like checking your kitchen to see if you already have some ingredients before opening the delivery package. And finally putting it all together, where the browser takes all the received data, loads it, and organizes it to properly display the page. And it's like arranging the food on your plate and settling the table, and the page is ready to use. So finally the entire page is fully loaded and ready for you to interact with. So just like when your meal is ready to eat. So every time when you visit a website, your browser and the server goes through this entire process in the background to make sure you get the page you asked for. This is, just imagine, this is not like the regular response times that we usually we do. This is something different, which is the page load time, and this comes under the UI performance testing. So we are going to see more about this. And the last part, which is how are we going to improve it. So yeah, so we know like what all it does. So we enter the URL, we submit a form, click a hyperlink, send the request, gets back the the server processes it, the server sends back the response, the browser receives it, it starts to parse and render, it starts to unpack, it starts to do all it can do, and finally it's displaying the page. Yes, but why is it different in this manner is it is quite different in terms of parsing and rendering, because in our response times we don't worry about the parsing or rendering part, right? And we don't worry about the fully usable part, right? We don't care about that. But this page load time, yes, they do really care about that. They want the entire requested page to become available on the browser, right? So that's why this is quite different. But again, this falls under the performance testing. Yes, UI performance testing. And now let's see how to improve it. So that's with that we're going to end. And let me see. Let me show you how to improve it. So now we'll end up with how to improve the page loading time. So if you want your website, your application to load faster. So these are the few common ways to improve the page load time. So think of it as like making your daily routine more efficient by cutting down the unnecessary steps and speeding up things. So here's how it can be done. So the first thing is reducing the size of web elements. So the website contains files like CSS, the HTML, the JavaScript, and images. So if these files are too big, they take longer to download. So by making them smaller, like compressing images or minimizing the code, the page loads faster. So it's like packaging or packing lighter for a trip. So your luggage is not too heavy and you can travel faster. So that's the reducing of your size of the web elements. And the second part is optimizing the code, where the websites often have extra bits of code such as unused parts, spaces, and comments that are not needed for the page to work. So removing these makes the code cleaner and more efficient, which leads to faster loading. And it's like decluttering your room by getting rid of things you don't need. And then the next part, which is the reducing of redirect. Sometimes when you visit a web page, it redirects you to another page before showing what you need. So too many redirects slow things down, which reducing them means the browser can go straight to the right page without unnecessary detours. And that's like taking a direct route instead of multiple stopovers. So multiple transits. So that's like you can reach faster to your destination. And then the fourth one, which is using a fast network. So when a good network or a good internet connection can significantly improve the page load time. So the faster network secure the data travels quickly between your device and the website server. So it's like having a high-speed delivery service instead of a slow one. So by following all these steps, the websites can load faster and it will give us a smoother and more enjoyable experience. So what happens is like you'll get a faster website experience, you will have an improved user experience, and there will be a better search engine rankings, the SEO rankings, the Google SEO rankings, and also there will be reduced bounce rates, and you will have an enhanced mobile browsing speed. So with that, I come to an end of this video. So I believe this video will be very useful to you. So until I meet you in our next video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and your favorite little star YouTube channel. Take care and bye bye.